Why can't everything be free? If everything was free, nobody would make or prepare the things for you to take. Because things don't fall from the sky. Somebody has to produce shit. Labor ain't free. Would you work for free? From something. Resources ain't free because they are limited in some place. Again, there's a limited amount of space, so it ain't free either. Unless you have a society where everyone is working towards one common good for each other, you need a way to transfer goods. In a small tribal unit, everyone has to work together, so things can be free amongst themselves, because they have closer personal bonds and know how they can rely on each other. Similar to how friends can help each with things like moving for free, with the implied social contract that the helper can rely on the helpee to help them later. But in a larger society, those personal bonds don't exist. Now the person asking for your help is some stranger. And while a close-knit relation may be willing to take care of someone non-productive, for example an elderly family member that can't really help due to physical ailment, a stranger relation will not. So things cost money. Since we also need to guarantee our own needs can be met too. And if we don't have the relationship guarantee, we need to have money. Things can't be free because resources are limited, and people need motivation to work. If everything were free, there'd be no incentive to produce goods or provide services, leading to shortages and poor quality. Plus, economies need money flowing to stay stable. Iker, why can't I get a 5-bedroom house overlooking the Pacific Ocean without having to pay for it? It's not asking too much. Where do you think all the things you need in life come from? They don't just fall out of the sky. Someone has to put in the work necessary to make them available to you and to themselves. Why should you be entitled to their labor? Life is hard enough just to survive on your own. Why should anybody else be expected to work twice as hard so you don't have to? What benefit is that to them? It's called the tragedy of the commons. Basically, it's the idea that a closed system, with a finite amount of resources like Earth, would have every individual actor trying to maximize the slice they receive from those finite resources. If we did it first come, first serve, the people that came first would take more than they need, and necessarily, the people that come last won't have any. And honestly, our system isn't much better than that, because people born 50 years ago had way more dibs on our resources than we do. But it is better. The only answer to the tragedy of the commons, the only answer, is politics, where politics is defined as ways that humans consent to make decisions among each other. If we can agree on a rule set that dictates the resources, and an enforcement infrastructure to hold it accountable, that mitigates or solves the tragedy of the commons. Capitalism, for better or for worse, is that rule set and enforcement infrastructure. Things aren't free because our social contract says us paying for them is better than us hoarding and potentially denying each other resources. Money is essentially debt. When you ask for ice cream, someone does spend his time, resources, and knowledge on making it, so you owe them for giving you the ice cream. People in the past just did exchanges. Then they just used gold, or another equivalent for convenience reasons. I give you money in exchange for your goat instead of a cow that I don't have, but you can exchange it in the future or for other things. Then everything became more and more abstract until today. In my opinion, a everything-free world is pretty much an utopia held by a society with very high moral reasoning. Kohlberg stage post-conventional, the highest one, or a dystopia with forced labor. Who would source, make, and supply chain everything, and why? Looks like Ranty work is leaking. Nothing has ever been free. Even in the era of hunter-gatherers, you had to put in a hard day's work to get your food, protect your shelter. Not everyone could do all tasks required to survive, so communities developed with fighters, hunters, tradesmen, etc. If suddenly everything was free, how do you compensate everyone who manufactures the food, machinery, spend decades becoming educated to become a surgeon, etc., etc.? People would just choose to do their unfair share of the labor so others could do nothing? You need a bartering system, which becomes an economy as it scales to more complex industries. Nothing was ever free. We have always traded service for another service. Nothing just appears out of thin air. Someone took the time or work to make that thing. Different people are better at different things, and using money is an efficient way to trade things for skills or work for time. It's also better to use money in exchange for land than to fight over that land. The reasons are probably endless. Top comments are kinda wrong. Real reason is because people want infinite things and the world only has finite resources. It's got less to do with people not wanting to produce stuff. If you want proof, just look at Wikipedia. A huge repository of information produced almost entirely for free. Would you be willing to work for free? The answer is everyone works for money. Because then nobody would have any incentive to work. You could always just get free stuff that somebody else made. Might as well have rampant theft. Imagine someone snatching your free phone out of your hands, or the shoes off your kid. The idea of everything being free is appealing, but there are some key reasons why it's not practical in the current world. People work, invent, and create because they are incentivized, usually through pay. Without compensation, the motivation to provide goods or services might diminish, impacting productivity and innovation. I hope this post is joking.